Tonight, you will meet Ridley Scott, director of Alien, and hear him describe the most hideous monster ever conceived for the movies. Tonight, you will see The Other, a top-flight horror film directed by Academy Award winner Robert Mulligan and based on the bestseller by Tom Tryon. Tonight, you will meet Jerry Pournelle, author of the new adventure fantasy Janissaries. Tonight, you'll be swept away into a wondrous region where your imagination will be free to explore the fantastic and the weird in the twilight region known as Creature Features. Nostromo, a freighter deep in space, light years from Earth. A distress signal from a nearby planet. The finding of a derelict spacecraft and dead astronauts of yet another world. A crew of 5 men and 2 women thrown into a nightmarish experience. Faced with a hideous life form loose aboard the cargo ship. A life form unforgettably evil and grotesque. A life form that kills for sheer pleasure. Alien, a masterpiece of science fiction and horror. And the director-cinematographer behind it, Ridley Scott. He produced his first 16mm film, A Boy on a Bicycle, when he was in his teens, and it led to a grant from the British Film Institute. During the next few years, he became a TV director with BBC, and then a very successful producer of commercials. Thousands of commercials, bringing him awards and prizes. Then the opportunity in 1976 to produce his first feature film, The Duelist, based on a Joseph Conrad story. A cinematic triumph in the eyes of critics, a smash box office success in Europe, but a poorly distributed film by Paramount in the United States. But it was only a minor setback. The exquisite beauty of The Duelist opened enough doors for Scott to direct Alien, a new director on the threshold of unique cinematic marvels, Ridley Scott.
There was a lot of stuff coming in, a lot of screenplays, which I always used to read, you know, I mean, one has to, you know, and this one came in from a friend, a guy who works at Fox there, called Sandy Leverson, who said, you may be interested in this. So I took that particularly seriously and read it, and very simply, it knocked me out. I mean, it was extraordinarily simple. Had great strength, great drive to it, which is rare in a screenplay, arriving out of the blue like that, you know.
Now, I know, Ridley, that you're a motion picture buff. You've seen all kinds of movies, including all those classic suspense movies and so on. Is there any one person that you would call your mentor or your inspiration for the suspense and tension that builds in Alien?
One's influenced by anything good, you know. Whether you're doing comedy or whether you're doing whatever you're doing, I usually sort of research by looking at what I hear to be or know to be subjects which are the best in that kind. And inevitably, one is influenced in the fact that you deliberately avoid doing what has been done before, been done well before, or you are influenced to a certain extent by a sequence or other out of a film. So yes, I mean, influence does come into a great deal into it, yeah. But there was no specific mentor in that sense. Other than, I think, Kubrick, maybe, you know. I like flying sequences in Strangelove, right? I mean, the way they just sat in the jet and that worked was interesting, it was humorous.
Ridley, the Alien seems to incorporate many things that we fear. Our fear of sharks, our fear of snakes, of wild animals. Was it your intention to make the alien a symbol of everything that we dread?
You have to, you know, answer those questions yourself as a director first, of what you know, scares you on a primal level, not just on a superficial level. Not just a man with a knife. I mean, this is a sort of more complex problem. And so when I took on the subject, I took it on knowing that the biggest problem would be, what does it look like, you know? O'Bannon produced this Necronomicon, you know, like a dirty postcard, and said, what do you think of this? And I thought, my eyes popped out of my head. And I found a half page in that, which I just thought was amazing. And based on the half page, that really became a very specific prototype for the way the alien finally develops. Whenever you're doing something like this, I think you again have to make your own theories in your own mind to, you know, so there is always a logic to everything, there has to be. And working backwards from the fully grown version, let's say, through to the what I'd call the baby, right, was, funny enough, eventually relatively easy, because there were certainly logical shapes that he ought to have, and the way his head would fold or unfold as an embryo, you know. So we worked very much biologically there, logically there, okay. The process of what in fact is the father, which is the sort of I can hardly say the word, perambulatory penis, okay, which is the thing that came out of the egg, all right, in fact is the father. And now that was almost free choice. Now Giger designed that version, a version of that, and then we changed that from the drawings and to something that was more animal-like and I think less monster-like. I didn't want to look at monsters. I wanted to be able to examine them on screen and not have to cut away from them because I was embarrassed about them. And therefore we related very much always biologically to it, never from the point of view, look at this monster. Okay.
Yeah, but even in your cutting, you never linger too long on the alien. I mean,
I don't think
built your suspense and tempo that way.
Yeah, long enough is long enough. Right is right, and I think we held the right extent, the right amount of time on it. If the reaction at the end of it is that, why didn't we see more of the alien? That's great. That's perfect. Less is better.
Well, long enough was not long enough for me. I rushed out and I bought the new heavy metal version of Alien, and here's an opportunity to really study that creature. Okay? They haven't released any photographs of it yet. 20th Century Fox is being very coy about that. No film clips, no photographs. Say, I want to thank you fans who have been responding to my mini-movies. You know, the last 2 weeks we've shown you The Mummy Rises, and we had the return of the Channel 2 Dragon. In fact, the mail was so heavy on those two shows that I thought I'd read you a few samples. Here's a letter from Leon Heskett. You know, he's an institution on this show. He wrote, John, the Channel 2 Dragon really floored me. I got all choked up when I saw so many people on the carpet. Ruggedly yours, Leon Heskett. Good old Leon. By the way, if you're interested in the Kuk Sul 1 Martial Arts School, here's the address. Can we have the address, please? Kuk Sul 1 Martial Arts, 1050 Van Ness Avenue in San Francisco, and the number to call, 673-8264. As you saw last week, they are among the very best martial arts people that I've ever met. Okay, let's see. Oh, here's another letter from Bill Orlando of San Jose. He writes to say that the mini-movie about the mummy was really something. I recognize the music score. It was written by Hans Salter for the Universal Mummy series. I commend you for your attention to detail, and I hope that you produce more mini-movies in the future. Well, I'll tell you, Bill, we're going to do it. In fact, I've got one right now called The Channel 2 Dragon Strikes Back. It'll be on the air pretty soon. Okay, I want to tell you about the new Dracula film. This is the new film version of the old 1931 play. That play was originally made with Bela Lugosi in the title role, and it made a star out of Lugosi. And Frank Langella is the star. He also played in the Broadway version. And he has said, Dracula is always played as a black, evil ghoul. I've tried to find his soft underbelly. So let's look at these scenes now from the brand new Dracula. See?
Forgive me, Doctor. I dislike mirrors. They are the playthings of man's vanity.
You are a most unusual creature, Count Dracula.
Yes. How is the fair patient?
Her diagnosis presents difficulties.
I feared it might, my friend.
Would you care to see what I have prescribed for her?
Anything that you prescribe for Miss Lucy has the greatest interest for her.
My prescription is a most unusual one.
You are a wise man, Professor. For one who has not lived even a single lifetime.
You flatter me,
But not
Count.
wise enough to return to Holland at once, now that you have learned what you have learned.
I prefer to remain.
In the past 500 years, Professor, those who have crossed my path have all died, and some not pleasantly. Come here. Sacrilege. Sacrilege!
Janissaries is a new quality paperback from Ace with more than 100 illustrations inside. It's a high-adventure story about a band of U.S. soldiers on a secret mission for the CIA in Africa, soldiers of fortune who are spirited away into other worlds of fantasy. Its author is Jerry Pournelle, who has also written Lucifer's Hammer, which is a story about a comet which strikes the Earth, causing worldwide devastation, and The Mote in God's Eye. Both of those latter books were written in collaboration with Larry Niven. Jerry, your background is strongly scientific. You hold degrees in engineering, psychology, political science, and you worked in the aerospace industry for about 19 years. What did you do during that period?
Oh, little of everything. We started the Human Factors Program movement back in the early days of the space program. Back, nowadays it's commonplace. We know people can live in space, but in the 50s we didn't know whether you could live out there, and if you did, what it'd be like. I've cooked more people than any cannibal ever did.
No, wait a minute. What do you mean by that?
Back in the old days, we did not know what the cabin temperatures would be on re-entry. When the re-entry vehicles come in, it turns out that they're comparable to, 100 degrees, normal hot day. But the engineers couldn't tell us how hot it was going to get in those cabins then. And they thought they might go up as much as 500, 600, 700 degrees. And the question was, can somebody fly a ship in that environment? Well, we stuffed the astronauts into capsules and turned the heat up a lot hotter than you roast your roast beef, and they could fly them. Turns out that was unnecessary research, but I sure cooked a lot of astronauts.
Fried astronaut.
Well, more like baked or perhaps roasted.
Were you able to apply a lot of what you learned during those years into your science fiction novels?
Oh, sure. Both the specific knowledge about space and space conditions, and also what industries are like, and just what it's like to work in a large-sized, successful program, which, space program was.
Now, you tell me that you do your writing not on a typewriter, but on a computer.
Yeah.
You feed your novels right into the old
You
programmer.
just sit there and type it into a screen that comes up on a screen just like your television you're watching there, and the words are all there, and they push buttons, and they move things around, and move blocks of type around and record it all on an electronic disc. And
Now, do you write your science fiction for entertainment, or do you try to inject as much of a message as you can into your works?
Well, I was chairman of the board of the Seattle Civic Playhouse for a number of years in my engineering days, in a civic duty type of thing. And all the directors and the rest of it, we came to one conclusion. Nobody ever gave anybody a message while they bored them, huh? So if you don't entertain, there's no point in the rest of it. So I guess I'll have to say I try to write entertaining stories. Now, that's not to say I haven't got something to say, or at least I think I have. Mm-hmm. But if I can't get people to like to read the story, there's not a lot of point in putting a message in. Nobody truly deep down wants to go buy a science fiction story in order to read a sermon.
Now, Mote in God's Eye is basically a story about man's encounter with alien, correct? Mm-hmm. And you told me that the film was picked up was optioned for the films. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, just recently, it's a new production group of people who've worked with people like John Dykstra, and so he's not in it, but I mean some of his associates, people who have done some of the really great special effects. And they are very interested in the movie. I have seen their treatment and I love it. And they are now out getting the financing together, and they are talking to writers. I understand they are talking to, and this doesn't mean they've got them. It's not signed. To Robert Bloch, who did Psycho.
Oh, yes.
And Dan O'Bannon, who did Alien. They're talking to them about the screenplay, and it'll be marvelous. And we are, Larry and I will be technical directors in the film, which really all it says is they have to listen to us. But
you'll
at
have
least
some
we get
control
some advice,
over what goes
Control
in
we don't have, but advice they have to listen to us. They don't have to take our advice, but they have to listen to it.
I wish the producer of this show would listen to my advice sometimes. He never does. Jerry, thanks for coming on the show, and I want to recommend Janissaries, his new science fiction novel, put out by Ace, over 100 illustrations. It's a beautiful book, and it's a classic adventure story. I highly recommend it. Before we go to the movie, I want to tell you a little bit about The Other. This is a class motion picture, especially for this show. We're used to getting The Creature with the Atom Brain. Well, tonight we've got a good one. It was produced by 20th Century Fox back in 1972 by Robert Mulligan. Now, he's the Academy Award-winning director of To Kill a Mockingbird, among many other films, but it's the only time he ever got into the genre of supernatural horror. Watch the film very carefully for the first half, because it's really a cinematic trick that you're seeing. There's something that's being held back from you, and when it comes, it's going to really jar you. It's got one of those classic moments of surprise in it. Then the rest of the film, as it unfolds, you realize when you look back on the earlier part of the film, you were tricked. So watch very carefully. Okay, the most interesting background fact about tonight's film is its author, Tom Tryon. Tom originally was an actor, and you probably remember him from I Married a Creature from Outer Space, and he was also in Harm's Way with John Wayne, and it's probably his biggest film was starring in The Cardinal, an Otto Preminger film. All the critics agree, though, that he's a much better writer than he ever was an actor, and such a fine writer that his book, The Other, was on the best-selling list. He then wrote a second book, Harvest Home, which was also on the bestseller list and was made into a TV film. So he's still cranking them out today, and he's really on the bestseller list almost every time a book comes out. But he never gave up the good life. He still wrote by the side of the pool. Jerry, you use the computer, but Tom, he loved that Hollywood life, and he would have a martini and a typewriter at the poolside, and that's where he wrote tonight's movie, The Other, and the book too. So let's go to that. I'll be back later with film clips from Nightwing. We're going to be talking about the MythCon, and I'm going to award the prizes for the Raven Craven contest. So stay with us. A few weeks back, I asked you fans to write in and give a name to my Raven. And of course, the winning entry is Raven Maniac. But we had two entries that arrived here on the very same day, so I want to make a dual presentation tonight to the Raven Craven contest winners. With me are Dee Griner, her son Joey, and Michael Susko. Susko Jr., right, Mike?
Right.
Okay, the first presentation, I'd like to present, Dee, you with this duck. This is a three-dimensional wood carving duck. In fact, this was done by my father, if the truth be known. We have such a low budget here, and I couldn't afford a wood craftsman in the outside world, so my father, Myron Stanley, did this duck, and I'd like to present it to Joey. Joey, that's for you. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay. Michael, we have here a tropical fish. Now, this is one of the fish. Did you see Jaws? You saw Jaws, right? Well, in the first reel, the shark is eating a number of fish. This is a replica of one of the fish that was eaten in Jaws. So I want you to have that. Okay, also done by my father. Okay, let's go back now to our movie tonight, The Other. Ever get the feeling that somebody or something is looking over your shoulder? I don't know why it is, but lately I find myself surrounded by all kinds of strange, odd people from the Bay Area ever since becoming the host of Creature Features. Excuse me, I am using this Norman dagger just to clean my fingernails a little bit. Thanks very much. These people with me tonight are from the MythCon 10. That's a convention dedicated to the memory of Tolkien and his fantasy fiction. And with me is Lisa Deutsch, the chairman. Lisa, tell us something about MythCon 10. What's it all about?
Okay, basically it's a convention for the Mythopoeic Society, which is a literary society that studies J.R.R. Tolkien, C.S. Lewis, and Charles Williams. This particular time we are giving particular emphasis to the Silmarillion, which, as you know, was the book that Tolkien's son actually had to complete, which was the prequel to Lord of the Rings.
And he didn't finish it at the time of his death, correct?
Right.
Now, the MythCon, is this like a science fiction convention? Do you have the Hawker's Room and all of the other features?
Yes, we do have the Huckster's Room. We will be having also an art show. There will be several panels on Tolkien.
You brought some art. Let's take a look at that piece you brought us, and can you tell us something about it?
Yes, this particular piece of art was done by one of our guests of honor, Annette Harper. We will be having a show of her work as part of our art show.
Very good. Now, the MythCon's taking place Thursday through next Sunday at the Hyatt House Hotel located in San Jose. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. I'm going to try to drop by. My fingernails, they still... Can I borrow that again? I've got a hangnail. Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to go back to the movie. It's called The Other. You fans remember now, the MythCon for a little oddity next weekend in San Jose. Well, I hope you appreciated The Other as much as I did. It's a real treat to get a good movie on Creature Features. It doesn't happen all the time. You really have to work at it. I want to tell you a little bit about next week's film. It's called The Creeping Unknown. It's the first in the Quatermass series, and it stars Brian Donlevy, and it's about a spaceship that comes back from deep space, and the astronauts are afflicted by some strange malady. I'll tell you more about that next week, and I want you to be here to watch it. I'll have my James Bond tribute. I also want to show you this little scene now from the new horror film called Nightwing, which stars David Werner as a kind of exterminating angel who goes around killing vampire bats. Here's a scene now, Nightwing.
What animal can turn circles in the air around a fly? Has echo-sensitivity equipment superior to a billion-dollar bomber? Can see in the dark better than a cat? Communicates with high-frequency sounds? Converts the blood of other animals into its own blood? Mates all the year round like a human? Can't live in harmony with other animals? Has no fear of humans? And in fact thinks of us as food? Carries bubonic plague without dying of it?
Go on. I'm listening.
Yes, I hope so. Because the only animal that fits that description is the vampire bat.
There's something on the score pane.
Here they come, only minutes after sunset. West, northwest, bearing directly towards us in a tight formation. Listen. Right. You hold that pole. Anne, hit the switch the moment I say so. Keep your nerve and don't throw it too soon.
Oh, God. That sound.
That was David Warner playing the exterminating Avenger in Nightwing. He's the best feature of that film, which is about a cave of vampire bats and David Warner's efforts to wipe it out and the strange things that go on with all of the Indian tribes somewhere in Arizona or New Mexico. Okay, next week now, remember, I've got that James Bond tribute, so be here to see me, Agent Ott, next week.